Here we go. Book of Luke, chapter 14. One time, when Jesus went for a Sabbath meal with one of the top leaders, the Pharisees, all the guests had their eyes on him, watching his every move. Right before him, there was a man hugely swollen in his joints. So Jesus asked the religion scholars and Pharisees, "Is it permitted to heal on the Sabbath? Yes or no?" And they were silent. So he took the man, healed him, and sent him on his way. Then he said, "Is there any one of you who, if a child or animal fell down a well, wouldn't rush to pull him out immediately, not asking whether or not it was the Sabbath?" And just like last time, these Pharisees were stumped, and there was nothing they could say to that. Invite the Misfits. He went on to tell a story to the guests around the table, this table of Pharisees, noticing how each had tried to elbow into the place of honor. He said, "When someone invites you to dinner, don't take the place of honor. Somebody more important than you might have been invited by the host. And then he'll come and call out in front of everybody, 'You're in the wrong place. The place of honor belongs to this man.' And red-faced, you'll have to make your way to the very last table, the only place left by that point. When you're invited to dinner, go and sit at the last place. Then when the host comes, he may very well say, 'Friend, come up to the front.' That will give the dinner guests something to talk about, right? And what I'm saying is, if you walk around with your nose in the air, you're going to end up flat on your face. But if you're content to be simply yourself, you will become more than yourself. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last." Then he turned to the host. "The next time you put on dinner, don't just invite your friends and family and rich neighbors, the kind of people who will return the favor. Invite some people who never get invited out, the misfits from the wrong side of the tracks. You'll be and experience a blessing. They won't be able to return the favor, but the favor will be returned. Oh, how it will be returned at the resurrection of God's people." Continuing with this dinner party of Pharisees, Jesus included, that triggered a response from one of the guests. "How fortunate the one who gets to eat dinner in God's kingdom." And God followed up, "Yes, for there was once a man who threw a great dinner party and invited many. When it was time for dinner, he sent out his servant to the invited guests, saying, 'Come in, the food's on the table.' Then they all began to beg off one after another, making excuses. And the first said, but I bought a piece of property. I need to look it over. Send my regrets." Another said, "I just bought 5 teams of oxen, and I really need to check them out. Send my regrets." And yet another said, "I just got married, and I need to get home to my wife." The servant went back and told the master what had happened. He was outraged and told the servant, "Quickly, get out into the streets and alleys, collect all who look like they need a square meal, all the misfits and homeless and wretched you can lay your hands on. Bring them back here. Bring them in." The servant reported back, "Master, I did what you commanded, and there's still room." The master said, "Then go to the country roads. Whoever you find, drag them in. I want my house full. Let me tell you, Not one of those originally invited is going to get so much as a bite at my dinner party. Oh. Maybe that's why he's so hard on the Pharisees. People like him. Figure the cost. One day, when large groups of people were walking along with him, Jesus turned and told them, "Anyone who comes to me but refuses to let go of father, mother, spouse, children, brothers, sisters, yes, even one's own self, can't be my disciple. Anyone who won't shoulder his own cross and follow behind me can't be my disciple." Bear in mind, he's not speaking figuratively about a cross in the way that we would today. This was the time of literal crosses, like a gallows, like a electrocution chair, like fatal injection. Okay. Anyone who won't shoulder his own cross and follow behind me can't be my disciple. Is there anyone here who, planning to build a new house, doesn't first sit down and figure the cost so you'll know if you can complete it? If you only get the foundation laid and then run out of money, you're going to look pretty foolish. Everyone passing by will poke fun at you. He started something he couldn't finish. Or can you imagine a king going into battle against another king without first deciding whether it is possible with his 10,000 troops to face the 20,000 troops of the other? And if he decides he can, won't he send an emissary and work out a truce? Or simply put, if you're not willing to take what is dearest to you, whether plans or people, and kiss it goodbye, you can't be my disciple. Salt is excellent, but if the salt goes flat, it's useless, good for nothing. Are you listening to this? Really listening? And this line about salt, I'm going to go over a few things now. Notes, updates, bear with me. But first, this line about salt, I'm surprised that the translator, paraphraser, Eugene Peterson, doesn't reword that to mean something else. I suppose the phrase that Jesus says about salt losing its saltiness, or whatever the traditional translations are, may just be too much in people's minds to try and go completely different, although he already did it with the mustard seed. Anyway, I just want to point out that at least what I've been taught and read up on is that salt never loses its saltiness as far as we know. Like, it's the only thing that can really happen to it is it can be impure, and so if it's not pure salt, obviously it won't taste very salty. And at this day and age, yeah, that was just everyday life, probably, that when you had a container of salt, that impurities would probably tend to settle to the bottom, and so when you get to the bottom of your salt shaker, your salt container, you might just have a bunch of stuff that looks and even feels, or yeah, like it like tastes at first a bit like salt, but then it doesn't really have any salt flavor to it, so it's just good for nothing. It goes flat. It's gone flat, even though technically nothing changed about it. You ran out of the real salt, is what it would be. Yeah. But what he's saying here, yeah, be what you're made. If you can only make a start and you're not going to finish, maybe you just send an emissary and work out a truce. Full of wonder. Well, that's the end of the chapter. And You may have noticed if you've been following these videos I've been posting of the book of Luke that I had just retitled that I've been titling the videos with the word Epiphany in them. I was doing that during the Epiphany church season. And I think I typically follow what it might be the Anglican church season, which might be slightly different, but that's just because a carryover from my one of my inspirations, Steve Bell, who carried it over from a church that he got to know. I'm sure, as far as I'm aware, that's my conclusion on the matter. And anyway, I realized I had not been looking at the correct calendars at all for when Epiphany ended, because we've been in the season of Lent for some time now. Lent! Woo! And with that, hey, by the way, there is a visual artist that just released well, I don't know if he just released it. He released in the last year, so a devotional for Lent with a whole bunch of his visual art, which I always find quite stunning. He's like a modern iconographer. What was the term that they would use for Eastern Orthodox churches, where someone would make like stained glass windows or other images where there is like really tight, very I don't know if the word explicit would be a good word for this, but like very, very big on symbolism, very, very big on symbolism to explain concepts of Christianity and stories of Christianity. And that's what this guy does, except he's making all new art on this stuff. And so as far as I know, oops, I can't remember, I'm trying to get a screen here that you can see without me trying to actually edit the video. So here's one that I was just looking at. It's pretty awesome. So Full of Eyes, free Lent devotional. There are many illustrations in here, and they're pretty cool. I'll post a link below. Check it out.